Are you ready to pay a 104% tariff on all products from China? Michael Snyder reports. How many products do you have in your home right now that were made in China? If you're like most Americans, that number is very high. We should have never allowed ourselves to become so dependent on cheap Chinese goods, but we did. Walmart, Target, and our dollar stores are absolutely teeming with products that were manufactured in China, and now those products are about to get much more expensive. The 34% retaliatory tariff that the Trump administration recently imposed on the Chinese was on top of the 20% tariff that the Trump administration had already imposed on them. The White House has confirmed this. Unfortunately, the 54% tariff that we're potentially facing will now rise to 104%, thanks to an additional 50% tariff that will go into effect on April 9th. Earlier today, President Trump posted the following on his Truth Social account. Yesterday, China issued retaliatory tariffs of 34%, on top of their already record-setting tariffs, non-monetary tariffs, illegal subsidization of companies, and massive long-term currency manipulation, despite my warning that any country that retaliates against the U.S. by using additional tariffs above and beyond their already existing long-term tariff abuse of our nation will be immediately met with new and substantially higher tariffs over and above those initially set. Therefore, China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April 8th, 2025. The United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50% effective April 9th. Additionally, all talks with China concerning their requested meetings with us will be terminated. Negotiations with other countries which have also requested meetings will begin taking place immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter, he said. The math is very clear. 20% plus 34% plus 50% equals 104%. No matter how the pundits try to spin this, the truth is that we will be paying this tariff if we continue to purchase Chinese products. It's easy to say that we should just switch to products made in the U.S., but in thousands of cases, there simply are not any similar products manufactured here. In thousands of other cases, products that are ultimately assembled in the U.S. depend on components that come from China. And once again, we should have never allowed ourselves to get into this situation. Trying to reverse course now is going to be a major league headache. And I asked Google AI to tell me some of the products that we get from China, and it produced quite an extensive list. Consumer electronics. China is a major source of smartphones, computers, video game consoles, and other electronic devices. Toys and games. A significant portion of toys, games, and sporting goods imported into the U.S. come from China. Furniture and bedding. China is a major source for furniture, bedding, and other home goods. Textiles and clothing. China is a major source for textile products and clothing. Machinery and electrical equipment. China is a major source for machinery, nuclear reactors, boilers, and electrical equipment. Other products. China also supplies the U.S. with items like lithium-ion batteries, plastics, and miscellaneous manufactured goods. Food. While a small percentage of the U.S. food supply comes from China, it is a major supplier for specific items like apple juice, garlic, canned mandarin oranges, fish, and shrimp. At this point, a list of things that we don't get from China might be shorter. I'm particularly concerned about what these tariffs will do to the pharmaceutical industry because Google AI says that the vast majority of the active ingredients in our pharmaceutical drugs are imported from China. While it's difficult to pinpoint an exact percentage, a significant portion of raw materials for pharmaceutical drugs in the U.S. come from China, with estimates suggesting that around 80% of active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs, are sourced from China and other countries like India. We are in so much trouble. Bill Ackman is warning that unless these tariffs are rolled back, we're heading into a self-induced economic nuclear winter. Billionaire fund manager Bill Ackman, a staunch President Trump ally, has warned that the world is on the brink of self-induced economic nuclear winter as he begged the commander-in-chief to pause his sweeping tariffs. The president has an opportunity on Monday to call a timeout and have the time to execute a fixing on unfair tariff systems. Alternatively, we're heading for a self-induced economic nuclear winter, and we should start hunkering down, Ackman wrote in a lengthy ex-post on Sunday night. May cooler heads prevail. Bill Ackman would not have become a billionaire if he was not extremely sharp, and I agree with his assessment. The outlook for the months ahead is extremely dismal. In fact, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink is admitting that most CEOs that he talks to would say we are probably in a recession right now. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink said that the stock market could see declines deepen by another 20% amid uncertainty over President Donald Trump's tariffs, and that CEOs are telling him they think the U.S. economy is likely already in a recession. Most CEOs I talked to would say we're probably in a recession right now, Fink told the Economic Club of New York on Monday. Tariffs are expected to make a wide variety of products more expensive, exacerbating inflationary pressures that have been persistent in recent months. As I discussed on Friday, our economic momentum has been taking us in the wrong direction for a long time. And now these tariffs are going to introduce a tremendous amount of chaos into the equation. As a result of the tariffs that we just imposed, Volkswagen is actually holding 37,000 cars at U.S. ports. Volkswagen is holding 37,000 cars at U.S. ports amid tariff turmoil. Audi, the luxury arm of the world's second largest global automaker, has confirmed that it's in a high-stakes holding pattern triggered by Donald Trump's 25% tariff on imported vehicles. The affected cars arrived in the U.S. the same day Trump announced the sweeping levies, and now they sit idle as VW considers its next move. Executives are thought to be hoping for either a presidential U-turn or a chance to negotiate a lower rate. How long can they possibly hold these vehicles at our ports? Of course, the U.S. auto industry is going to be hit really hard as well. If President Trump's trade war has a physical battleground, it's Michigan, where companies and workers are already feeling the beginning of an onslaught that could blow a hole in the state's economy. Nearly 20% of the economy is tied to the auto industry, which has become increasingly dependent on parts and vehicles from Canada, Mexico, and China. Imports Trump hit with steep tariffs in recent weeks. This trade has grown so large that Michigan ranks fifth in the nation by the size of its imports and exports, even though its total economy ranks 14th. Even before the tariffs were announced, it was clear that a major slowdown was now upon us. For example, the number of commercial bankruptcies in March 2025 was much higher than the number of commercial bankruptcies in March 2024. More companies filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in March than a year ago, indicating economic stress among U.S. businesses, according to the American Bankruptcy Institute, ABI. Commercial Chapter 11 bankruptcy filings increased 20% in March 2025, with filings climbing to 733 from 611 filings registered March 2024, ABI said in an April 3 statement. And during the first 3 months of this year, U.S. banks filed to close hundreds of local branches. Banks filed nearly 400 notices for the planned closures of some of their locations across the U.S. in the first 3 months of the year, according to the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency's OCC records. Only some of these branches have already shut their doors. The closure of others has received approval from the OCC but has not yet been carried through by the bank, which may ultimately decide against it. Many are pending approval from the OCC, an independent federal agency which safeguards the U.S. banking system, making sure it remains accessible to underserved consumers, and communities. I've been warning that it was not going to take much to push the U.S. economy over the edge. Unfortunately, we just got a really big shove. We have been through so much economic pain over the past 4 years, and I know that a lot of people out there were quite eager for better times to arrive. Sadly, what we're about to experience is not going to be pleasant at all. And this is by Michael Snyder on the Economic Collapse blog. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. About the author, Michael Snyder's new book, a blockbuster entitled Why, is available in paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He also has written 8 other books available on Amazon, including Chaos, End Times, 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of Future America, The Beginning of the End, Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and he always freely and happily allows others to publish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.